Hi, this is Dr. Darnise Martin, America's Life Coach and college professor, coming at you with another installment of my Religion Basics 101. And I'm doing these segments because I realize that there's a lot of misinformation about religion out there. Many people don't understand their own religion thoroughly, let alone other people's religions. But we tend to operate as if we do know, or sometimes in very judgmental ways about other people's religion. So that's why I do these segments. And so for today's segment, I wanted to talk about what might be the most difficult text in all of the Bible. What is the most difficult text in all of the Bible for us as humanity to live by? I'll just let you ponder that for a moment and see what you come up with. Because probably you're not going to come up with the one that I'm thinking of. Particularly in light of what just happened here in Orlando, Florida. We've had another mass shooting in the United States. And people are quick to blame Islam, or at least radical Islam, for the motivator for this shooter. And again, because people don't really understand religion. They don't understand their own, they don't understand others, particularly Islam. America tends to be pretty Islamophobic, I'm going to say, and Islamo-ignorant, I'm also going to say. Ignorant about what Islam really teaches. And so, of course, you have people who are fundamentalists, people who are extremists in any tradition, who are likely to do extreme things. Christianity also has fundamentalists and has had plenty of blood on its hands, but in our current context, Islam gets demonized pretty thoroughly, and often that comes from a lack of knowledge, just straight out ignorance. So in this case, the shooter is at least somewhat affiliated with Islam. It's so early on. In this case, I'm not really sure what, but there seems to be some affiliation between him and radical Islam. We don't know. There's still that to be sorted out. But and my point is that there's been some religious discussion around this shooting, this act of violence. And so this is why religion is such an important thing in our time, and why I'm doing these sessions, because it's really important that we come to understand each other. We're so misinformed that anything can happen, and a person will point a finger at another person's religion or way of being in the world from a point of being critical and judgmental and violent even. Okay, so I'm looping all this back around to say, what is the most difficult text to live by in the Bible? And you know what it is? It's really Jesus' command to us, to his followers, to love one another. Actually, it's the love commandment that is the most difficult for human beings to live by. Obviously and apparently. The most difficult one is not don't kill other people, don't covet thy neighbor's spouse, don't lie. Those are not that difficult for most people. What is most difficult for people on a regular, ongoing basis is to love one another, to love your neighbor, to love the stranger. So we think about, when these acts of violence happen. In this case, the LGBTQ community was targeted. And so some people will feel like, oh, well, they kind of deserve it because those people are living in sin. Those people are different from me, and therefore I don't care what happens to them. Those people who were shot in the club were largely Latino populations. And again, people may say, oh, well, those people, who cares? Well, if you are a Christian, if you are a believer in God, God says, love one another. God did not say, just love people who are like you, love people who you already know, like, and trust. God did not say, oh, I like you to only love these people. The commandment, the love commandment, is that you love everyone because we're all God's children. How is it that we get to pick and choose who we don't love? So, yeah, I'm going to say that that's the most difficult text, commandment in the entire Bible, really. And so how do I know that God intends for us to love one another radically? Even those who you don't agree with, even those who are very different from you. How do I know that God means those people too? Well, when you think about it, if you read the New Testament, you could start in the Old Testament. We're talking about a statement from Jesus. So how did Jesus live his life? Who were the people he surrounded himself with? He surrounded himself with people who were on the margins of society. He himself was on the margin of society. He was a Palestinian Jewish man who was, maybe poor, maybe economically disenfranchised, it would seem. And so he was already on the margin himself. And then he was championing the cause of other people on the margins, people who were sick, women, people who were perceived as sinners because they're a tax collector or perceived to be a prostitute. Whatever their thing was, their sin was, he still welcomed them. He still looked out for them. He gave his life protesting injustice against marginalized people. Let me say that again. Jesus gave his life protesting injustice against marginalized people. So if you don't know that about Jesus, then I'm going to invite you to go and read the New Testament. Because what do you think he was doing? Read it, understand the political environment in which he lived. What was he talking about? Why was he always talking about matters of justice? Who were the people who were locked out of justice? Those that were the people he was championing. So that's why I say the commandment to love one another comes directly from God and is articulated from Jesus. And seemingly, that is the most difficult thing for us as human beings to do. We live in a society, well, not just now, but since the beginning of recorded human history, it's been difficult for us to love one another. And this latest shooting here in Orlando, Florida, here in 2016, where we are now, this latest one shows us once again that we're challenged to love one another because some people are different from us. And so it seems okay to go and kill them because we don't like them. Again, really? Okay, so that's my session for today. Leave me a comment, subscribe. I definitely like to hear what you think about this love commandment. How well are we doing as a human community, loving one another? All right, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.